Happy Tuesday, everybody. So let's go ahead and just get right into this. I don't really like intros and all that. First one I want to talk about today is Boeing. I want to kind of just go over this trade that turned out to be really fortunate with my power going out today. And there's no way that I would have held probably throughout this entire move, but forest hold turned out to be the best bet. It all kind of started yesterday, or actually Friday, when I had scanners running, and all I looked at was that the market was pretty much was rip roaring, and Boeing was fading away. And I think it was in the 328s, right around here, where I decided to get short that day. Turned out to be a pretty nice trade. Down in the low, I think 23s areas on that. And then today, over the weekend, I noticed that there was an article that came out in regards to them getting a $10 billion loan. So that was also in the back of my head. I didn't really want to trade out of the gate because I'm not the best at that. I think I found out this year, plus all the other years. So I just wanted to see if it would fail throughout the day to around the 320 area. So got short. I think right around in here. I think it was. Power went out right around right here. I had gotten a 320 alert somehow through my phone while the power was out because I couldn't even get access to anything else. So I asked, I was like, where is this at? So I asked Nate. And I really didn't believe him when he said it was at 311. So ended up covering everything around the 306s. I think it was 306, 307 area. So it turned out to be pretty sweet. I do kind of think that this kind of fades off a little bit more. After hours opens around probably 306s, maybe the lows. Get some nice orders through tonight for like market sells. So the big area for the 320s for me was looking back all the way through 2017. I knew that 320 was kind of going to be a make or break area. So if there was anything negative that was going to come out, it was probably going to wash pretty hard, and it sure enough did. So the next kind of area is at 300. So likely a 300 test tomorrow. I have a few that I kept overnight, but that's about that. And after 300s, I kind of expect to see probably some positive news, I would expect. So let me go ahead and move on to the next one, which is Tesla, which is pretty unbelievable. I have a lot of these at or below marks just in case I forget to take it off radar and it fades. But I think we're in a full-on squeeze situation here. So I took some of the 600 calls for the end of the week just in case we get a beyond style ramp or a Tilray style ramp. It could easily do $50 in a day and blow out everybody that has been trying to pick the top and holding on for swing trades. So you broke that key level today and then after hours, so this could easily gap up to 465 and just keep going. I mean, it's hard to say a $50 day, but it was 507s this morning, closed at 555, so it could even be higher type of breakout. The one thing that I would be interested in, though, if it doesn't gap the 560s, anything around that 535 area to possibly get long as well. So, and I would leave myself a wide risk, probably $10 risk if that's right out of the gate. But as I found out this year, I usually avoid all trades within the first 20 minutes just because they have all been wrong all year. So there's no point in getting aggressive for me. Next one is CVS. Had a pretty nice alert in the room. I think it was from Stapes in regards to Amazon posted something. I briefly looked at it in regards to Amazon pharmacies, so I decided to hit that short. I think in the 528, so right in here, and pretty much held that all day because it never came back through. Locked in, I think, a half somewhere right around here. I wish I could get triggers on my E-Trade and all those other accounts, but I don't have those. So, and I don't trade through Thinkorswim, but kept some options overnight just in case that's kind of the news that people digest overnight and gaps lower to 74s. Other than that, that's kind of the only trade. It's just no real secondary trade, more of a possible gap lower and fade for the first 20 minutes, half an hour. Next one is we're actually going to go with FSL. I had posted this on Twitter that if this thing broke through, there were kind of two or three levels. 30s was first, 40s was next. So I was pretty bullish on this. I know some people were getting short. I wasn't going to mention anything, but I kind of had a feeling they're getting a short a little bit too early. There is earnings tomorrow. No way I'm holding through those, but I kind of expect, and I've felt this since the 50s on this name, even back here. When they had that first news day, I can't even remember if it was BP or somebody else. They did like a joint agreement with them, but especially right in here when it ramped back up through and broke through 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I kind of figured this is going to be a full-on uh, plug 19 or 2013 situation, and so far it's done almost the exact same move. Plug faded off into the 150s and then it gapped open one day on some sort of news, but I expect this to actually go lower into earnings. Depending on if earnings crush it, I don't think it matters because that's not what this whole run up is for. Um, it, so if it opened around the 220s, 230s, I'd be interested in getting long and actually taking calls again. It might take a little bit longer for it to actually work out, but if it does have positive earnings, who knows where it could go. It sounds crazy, but I foresee if the situation's right, this could eventually we might blink and this could be $7 or $8. Yes, I know the float, I know all that, but sometimes that just doesn't matter, and we've already seen how it reacts. So, kind of a sub trade on that is Ballard Power, all in the range of F-cell plug and all that. I'm not going to list plug on there just because I know it's close to that, but it tends to fail a lot more. I don't like trading that one as much, but Ballard Power. I'm actually a little bit more short bias on this, provided the 1150s hold as a peak, and if it just kind of churns around in the 11 areas tomorrow, I would just keep a short or have puts through FSL earnings, because I think FSL earnings is going to impact this name as well. So that's kind of my thought on that. Beyond Meat, I didn't see the CEO of Starbucks mention this morning. I don't know what I was looking at, or if I was just drinking coffee and completely missed it. But something like that, if I had seen that, this would have been a trade I would have taken easily out of the gate as far as like call options into the 115s, especially on that big pullback right there. It's a pretty interesting situation. There's no other names to trade in that space. I do know that I saw, I think it was not Cisco Systems, but Cisco, the food company. I don't even know if they're traded, but they are coming out with their own meat alternative, and that's kind of a big name because they're a giant supplier to thousands of businesses. So if it turns out that Cisco is more used in the future, I could see that impacting Beyond Meat just for that simple purpose. But ideally on this one, we see a wash through 25s, 125s for a possible long. Um, it, I don't think it's at the point where we're going to see this type of an action tomorrow where it just blows out everybody, because market had been straight up for a few days. But 135s, I should actually put that on there right now. 135s is actually a key level for me as well. But I'm more apt to want to just take calls on this if it does wash out early in the morning. Next is Uber, and it's a long list tonight, so this video might be a little bit lengthy. Big breakout today. Not a huge short float. I think it was only like 3% as of today, but I think that this is a name that future earnings are going to be more important than current information. So the big thing for me is this kind of reminds me of a Facebook type situation. I'm actually more of a fan of Lyft because they're more prevalent in some areas, and it's a different kind of situation, but that's all long-term thinking. But if this does ever break over 47s, I could see it doubling, tripling pretty easily. For the same reason Facebook did it in the 38s. But I would expect tomorrow this probably gaps over 38 and may continue to run. If it doesn't, 37s are of interest to me on the long side. If it just gaps and goes, I don't really care too much about it just because I'm not involved. But if it does continue to go, I'll look for D-car and higher car for possible sympathies if the other names go. Next is Virgin Galactic. I was pretty bullish on this. Actually, did its little IPO. I think it was right here on that day. I just like the fact that it was Virgin and it was something outlandish, space and all that. It ended up completely failing, but since the market completely reversed on that first day, Green Day there, I got long and was pretty excited about it. And I think I ended up selling the next day. Got long again on the 960s for that breakout. And sometimes I wish I could just buy these and not even look at them. Because here we are at 17s. Very easily can be a blowout through 20 bucks tomorrow. If not tomorrow, possibly the next day, because this thing just keeps grinding people out. So real only area of interest is through 19s into the 20s for a possible short. I don't want to be early on it because this market is just absolutely crazy. I would think that we would need SPY to come in, and with the Fed still pumping in billions of dollars, I think it's like 60 billion every day. It's hard to be short biased, but there will be a point that it matters. eBay is only of interest to me because I keep seeing, and I saw that on Friday there was a swipe of the 36 calls, and again today there was a bunch more that went off. So only interest is kind of an all or nothing end of the week gamble, if that's the best word I can use, on eBay. 36 calls. Only thing of interest there. Next two are some cheapies that I'm looking at. IBIO. Decent trender today, and it's one that I've looked at since I think it was even in here. I traded it in here. Also these 30 areas, but it seems to reject pretty hard at that 34 level. So that is kind of the big thing. If it breaks through 32s with convincing volume in the morning, which it had it all afternoon in regards to decent action, it could very easily be one of those ones that just keeps going, like the next one I'll show you, which is the last one on the list, which is BPMX. Missed my price alert on this one this morning because I had so many go off. I think it was probably 20 that went off at once for 50s. And one of those ones that if I don't see it and I don't see my price alert, I never see it for the rest of the day until I go to look at scans. So IBO could do a move like this just because those charts are set up almost the exact same. This is a move that I care about as far as it's cheap. Bios are moving, plus it had 8 million on the day. So anything under 70s will be of interest to me. Or the other game plan to me would be if it goes through 85, come back and retouch 80s in the morning. So hope you guys have a good rest of the evening.